Thank you. Okay. Now, the main part of the program is introducing our candidates. The first half of the meeting is introducing Democratic candidates for Senate from District 42 and for the House of Delegates from both District 5 and District 42C. Each candidate will get 4 minutes to speak. I'll try to enforce that, and because we have a number of candidates. Now, we don't have quite as many candidates here as I was hoping, but we still have quite a few, especially since the Board of Education is the second half, and there's possibly 6 people for that. So, anyway, we want 2 things with the time restriction. One is to get everybody a chance to talk, and second, so we have time for questions and answers, okay? That's questions and answers from you, the audience. I have some in case things get slow. I'll keep the time. I'll be probably going to sit over there, so I'm right in their line of sight, and I'll be waving little cards at them, so that should be fun. Anyway, the second half is the non-partisan candidates for the school board, okay? Same rules, 4 minutes, followed by a question and answer period, okay? So Democratic candidates first, non-partisan candidates second, okay? So the first person to speak is from Senate District 42, which is Paul Henderson.
So again, I'm Paul Henderson. I'm running for the Senate seat, District 42, which is, I think, new to Carroll County. I was born and raised in Baltimore County. I live in the Hereford zone. Lived there for the last 30 years. I've been an Eagle Scout. I've been a teacher. I taught in Baltimore County Public Schools. I taught at a private school at Ola High School for several years. I taught Community College of Baltimore County Community College. And for the last 13 years, I teach with the Maryland State Department of Education with the Juvenile Justice Department, which is really a school for incarcerated youth downtown. And that's where I teach currently. I think somebody was saying up here beforehand, is like, do you think you can win? Yes, I think I can win. I wouldn't be doing this. I mean, I'm a full-time teacher. I need to be campaigning all over Maryland for a job I can't win like a hole in the head. But it's going to be hard, frankly. I mean, it's a +8 Republican district. It was designed to be a Republican district. Adding Carroll County to a district that had always been Baltimore County, does not make it any easier. But I think it's doable. But I will. As I think every candidate here will tell you, is I need help. I mean, I'm not a professional politician. I have no great experience in it. So I need people to help me, especially in Carroll County, because I'm really not totally familiar with a lot of things that are going on in Carroll County. And I'll be very frank with you about that. But some things that I will say as the kind of the basis of my campaign is really comes down to, in a lot of ways, to affordability. In recent years, Maryland has faced really a slowdown in population growth, almost a stagnation. In some areas, the population has actually declined. And this matters because the size of our population affects almost everything we can do to make a state strong. A growing population typically means bigger workforce, more customers for businesses, more people paying taxes. These things keep our schools strong, our roads maintained, health care available, and public services funded. When population shrinks, all those things stall. And we're going through a budget crisis right now in Annapolis. We went through one seemingly last year as well. We have no friends in Washington to help us out. So the one thing, it's a long-term solution. It's nothing that's going to happen quickly, is if we increase the population in Maryland a little bit, everybody will be better off because we'll be able to spread some of our burdens and some of our blessings a little further. So simple things, we need housing you can afford, child care you can rely on, and energy bills that are lower and more predictable. I just had the happy event of becoming a grandfather 2 weeks ago. So child care is something that has suddenly come back into my wheelhouse after 30 years. And after housing, it's really the single biggest expense for working parents. In Maryland right now, for a newborn, it costs somewhere between $1,300 and $2,400 a month for full-time daycare. 5 days a week. If you think, that's roughly $15,000 to $28,000 a year per child in daycare. It is only slightly better when they become toddlers, at $900 to $1,600 per month. If we want parents to stay in the workforce and small businesses to thrive, we have to make childcare more accessible and affordable. It means we have to support local childcare providers so they can stay open. We need to target assistance to middle-class families so who earn too much to qualify for subsidies, but are still struggling to pay for it. The goal for Maryland is to encourage more family formation. I forgot what the red meant. Slow up? Stop. Stop. Slow down or keep going. So, again, I'm sorry. I know you have time for questions. I'm Paul Henderson. I'm running for the state Senate seat here at 42. Thank you for your time.
Does this work? Yeah.
Yes.
So, Paul and I were at an event last Friday night, and at the time there were 4 candidates running for District 42 State Senator. And I made the comment, and Paul and I were the only ones there. We said, we don't care who you vote for as long as it's for Paul. And I said, I think Paul will agree with me. Now maybe add a name, Conca, to that. But so one candidate who actually, this is the Democratic Club. You said no, nothing organized, but there was one candidate who dropped out, and he was sort of encouraged by some powers to be to run, and then he dropped out. So there's kind of some interesting shenanigans going on. Paul's not a professional politician. Both Pauls are not professional politicians, so we have that in common. So what I want to do in my 4 minutes, now maybe 3 minutes, is tell you a little bit about myself, tell you about my platform, and then tell you how we can flip this red seat blue. So about me, I grew up in Oregon, but I've been in Maryland for about 38 years, so it's pretty close to making a Marylander, I think. The last 25 years in the Phoenix, Jacksonville area in northern Baltimore County. I've got a bachelor's degree in history from University of Wisconsin. I've got an MBA degree, finance and investments at George Washington University, and a law degree from University of Oregon. So I am geographically diversified. West Coast, East Coast, and the Midwest. I've 24 years in the military, retired Navy captain, 5 years active duty, 19 years in the reserves, 29 years with the federal government in 5 different agencies. I've also been in private industry, management consultant with Booz Allen Hamilton and Levanta, a Medicare contractor, and state government, where I have taught kindergarten, every grade from kindergarten through 12th grade, and I'm currently a finance professor with the University of Maryland Global Campus. So that's a little bit about me. My platform, I actually brought these cards that I used 4 years ago. I still have them. I ran for state delegate, District 42A, and I looked at them the other day, and I've got some I'm not running for 42A, I'm running for 42, which is part of 42A, but I looked at my platform, and I thought, you know, I still agree with this platform. Support our kids, protect your money, and improve our environment. And I can go into details about that later. The third point is how do we flip the seat from red to blue? I ran the 42A against Nino Mangione, whose cousin, you know, is on. So, and the Mangione family, I didn't know at the time that it's an institution. It's got, you know, it's just massive. He has a dozen cousins, and they each gave him $6,000. It's crazy. Well, I got over 41% in a dark red district, over 41%. Believe it or not, 42, because it combines not only Carroll County, but with 42B in Baltimore County, which is Democratic, is less red than in 42A where I ran before. So I think it is possible to win, but to win, there's still a majority of Republicans. So you've got to capture some Republican votes. How do you do that? You have to appeal to some Republicans. Some Republicans peel them off. How can you do that? I'm a decorated military veteran. That should appeal to some Republicans, as well, of course, Democrats. But I'm looking to capture some Republicans. 24 years in the Navy, and also frugal. Save, protect the taxpayer. So, thank you.
Okay, I'm Corinne Corpus. I'm running for delegate in 42C, and I'm proud to say I'm the first Democrat ever to do so. That being said, the district was just formed in 2022, but it encompasses the eastern part of our county. Some of you here live in District 5, I'm sure, but one of the pledges I'll make to you is if I am lucky enough to go to Annapolis, I will represent everyone in Carroll County. That's my pledge to you. It's been over 25 years since Carroll County had anyone in Annapolis that was willing to work with everyone to bring home funds and other resources back to our county. I think it's about time. I'm running because I've been fortunate enough to attend college and live and work in Carroll County for most of my life. During that time, I followed a lesson I learned as a child. I have served my community. My volunteer efforts have brought me much joy, and until recently, that was enough. We are now living in extraordinary times, and I'm called to a higher level of service. I grew up in a small business household. I watched my father struggle to provide for our family, especially when it came to costly regulations and health insurance. Years later, I watched as the founders of Carroll County Foods merged with Performance Food Service, in a large part because they couldn't afford health insurance for their employees. While it was a good merger for our company, no family should be forced to make a business decision because they can't afford health care for themselves and their employees. All of my 5 siblings raised their children in Carroll County, and some of my nieces and nephews are still here raising young children. I've seen the struggle to afford a home in Carroll, often while juggling student loans and daycare costs. I hear them worry that our schools are not going to provide their children as great a foundation and as great an experience as they had. I've also listened to the concerns of many neighbors regarding our energy infrastructure. Our personal energy bills are another challenge to families that must be addressed. Meanwhile, MPRP on the proposed route would impact many of our farms and historic properties. I was at the first informational meeting at the Westminster Senior Center, and I'm still listening and learning how I can protect our beautiful countryside. Meanwhile, I am proud to say that Carroll County leads the state in agricultural land preservation, and I pledge to continue that effort should I get to Annapolis. In the months since I first considered running, I've been reading up on our master plan work group reports. Make no mistake, Carroll County will experience growth. It's how we manage it that will make the difference. I've also been meeting with constituents to hear their concerns. I've been energized by the heartfelt and confident responses I've received from my friends, my neighbors, and my fellow activists. I believe that they, and this group in particular, see me as a good listener and a problem solver. I now humbly ask for your support in this new endeavor. Please help me reach the voters in Carroll County who are looking for strong representation in Annapolis. We need strong leadership in these challenging times. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? My name is Diana Bergman, and I'm running for District 5. Once I win, I'll be the first Latina to ever be elected in District 5. I'm a first-generation immigrant. I've been just about everywhere in Maryland. I grew up in Maryland. I've come in and out of Maryland because my husband has served in the Army, the U.S. Army, for 21 years. I've been married to him for almost 20 years on the 23rd of June. So I'm resilient. We know how to make everything out of the little that we have. I know that it's important to listen to people and actually not listen to respond, but listen to understand. I'm running because I think it's time that District 5 and Carroll County and parts of Frederick County starts to get adequate representation. My professionalism in the past, I've owned a business in healthcare. I've owned a childcare, in-home childcare. I've been a registered behavior technician, and I've provided respite care. So I'm a very caring person. But I'm always fighting for the underdog. I'm always fighting for those that are vulnerable, that don't have a voice to be represented. And my campaign is going to be very different. Sometimes some people are not going to like what I'm going to be doing. But I'm going to get out there and I'm going to communicate with every person I meet and listen to what solutions are available. It's going to be very different, very forward thinking. And I'm ready for this new adventure. We've never seen anything like this before in Carroll County. And it's going to be fun and it's going to be interesting. And I hope each and every one of you are going to join me in that journey. Thank you.
I'm one of the candidates running for House of Delegates for District 5, Carroll County. And I'm sorry. I'm here, a part of a young new generation. We're determined to turn around the direction of our country along with this county. We're all here for the same reason, and that is nothing less than the preservation of American rights and freedoms that are being stripped with the pathological liar in the White House and the cowards in the newly configured Republican Party who are afraid to stand up to a dangerous and damaging bully. Everyone in this room knows that the current President of the United States is looting the Treasury to enrich himself, his family, and his friends. The level of corruption going on today is unprecedented in our nation's history, releasing convicted criminals from prison in exchange for bribes, undermining public health by appointing health officials who have no medical training or respect for science, intimidating free speech by anyone who defends American values, starting wars to distract attention from the cover-up of a ring of pedophiles, which includes the President of the United States, creating inflation and higher costs for everyone by starting trade wars with our friends and allies. It's outrageous. Today in America, inadequately trained secret agents of the President's armed private security force are demanding that people show their papers, even while these thugs wear masks and costumes falsely claiming to be the police. They smash people's car windows and drag them off for profit to for-profit prisons in this country and abroad. They have executed people on the street on camera, shooting a woman in the face through her car window, and a nurse in the head for exercising his rights. Other outrageous abuses are also occurring, but not always on video. This is all unbelievable, but it's happening right now in America. Those who not stand against the ongoing destruction of American rights are contributing to what is going on, if only by their silence. In the case of our county and the state elected officials, Republicans from Carroll County have been active participants to extinguish the Bill of Rights, trying desperately to rig elections as they cling to power. This election year, no one anywhere should vote for any Republican who fails to stand up and speak out against the corrupt lawlessness that is taking place. Our representatives in Annapolis are among the worst. That is why I offered my name as a candidate for one of the 3 seats in the House of Delegates. You have 3 votes for that office. I'm asking for your vote for all 3 Democrats running in 2026.
Really, to be honest, it's not a question. I just want to clarify to people that Delegate 42C is mostly like Finksburg and Hampstead and Manchester. It's a little chunk out of the county and includes a lot of Baltimore County.
No, it does not.
No, 42 does.
42 does.
42 does, I'm sorry. 42C for the delegates is just a little chunk of Carroll County, those 3 areas that I mentioned.
Well, and half of Westminster, so that's.
Well, if you're outside of the, and if you're not sure what district you're in, look at your voter registration card, or there's a site up there, the Voter Services Elections, it's listed up there where you can input your name and address, and it will tell you each of your districts at the federal and state level. It is confusing because there's all these districts at the federal and state and local levels, and it's very confusing. So I appreciate all you coming for, that represent all or part of Carroll County.
And can I add something too? District 5 is majority of most of Carroll County,
Right.
and also the southeast portion of Frederick County.
Southwest.
Southwest, sorry.
So I'm going to take the liberty of saying, how many people in the room know what district you're in? Raise your hands. Cool. All right, how many of you are in 5? Ooh. How many of you are in 42? There's my little fan club. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Janine. It is important.
It's confusing, I just wanted to, because I had to learn that for this election because the maps changed.
So do we have any questions?
Any other questions? Right down there.
While you're at it, Corin, would you mind stating the names of the candidates and list them by district so we know how many votes you have, how many candidates are put up by Democrats?
You're talking about the people who are here? Well,
No,
No,
okay, I can go down the whole list.
Who's on the ballot that's a Democrat?
Okay.
So the Democrats on your ballot, if you're in 42, will be the Pauls for Senate and myself for House of Delegates. And the gentleman that I'm running against is Steve Patton, P-A-T-T-E-N. He'll be on the Republican ticket. There is no primary for my race.
There's one more candidate for District 42 besides the 2 Pauls.
Oh, that's right.
Stephanie Popescu.
Yeah.
I emailed her. I haven't got a response yet.
Okay.
So,
And
but
then
she
District
just
5.
declared, so,
District 5, we have a brand-new candidate for state senate, Gary Foote. Gary just filed on Friday, so he could not make it today, but he'll be at our meeting next month. And then we have 3 candidates for the 3 seats for House of Delegates
in District 5.
in District 5. Diana, Courtney, and Allison Rudolph, who will also be here next month because she had a conflict with her son.
And if you
Yeah.
wanted a list of the delegates, that first line up there, election info, elections.maryland.gov, that gives you can find all the names of all the candidates at all the levels.
Mark,
Get them closer to read
call
that.
on Don, please.
Don.
Question.
Don.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there are 3, we'll be voting for the 3 Democrats, correct?
If you're in 5.
You get 3 votes.
But you get 3 votes.
You can vote
Yes.
for 3.
And that is key, because it's a little unusual, there, in the general election, there will be 3 Democrats listed on the ballot.
Right.
And 3 Republicans.
And you can vote for 3 people, absolutely.
That's for delegate. That's the first time since 2010.
Right.
So both District 42 and District 5 have 3 open seats and 3 Democratic candidates.
No.
No.
No?
42 has 1 seat for
Oh,
House,
you're right. I
for
guess I-
Senate and 1 for House. 5 has 1 for Senate and 3 for House.
I should be able to read by now.
It's a 3-member district.
So in 42, you have 42A and 42B, which resides in Baltimore County. They're part of 42. And there's also Democratic candidates running in those seats.
Right.
Just, I would do what Janine is saying and go to that site and find out who your candidates are going to be, because it gets very confusing.
Yes.
Because your candidates may not be your neighbor's candidates. Literally.
Right,
Literally.
right.
Literally.
So you can't read it from where you're sitting You go up there and take
Go
a
up there
picture
and
of
take
it.
a
Well, you can also look at your voter's card when you go home.
Yes.
And you can also call the Board of Elections. And you will also get a sample ballot in the mail. And you'll do what I didn't do, is look at it very, very carefully. All right, do we have any questions?
Any other questions?
I'm going to charge the Board of Elections for all the education that we're doing.
Do you have another question?
Well, yeah, or point, I guess. Related, is the league doing anything?
Yes, the league will
Do they
be,
help to clear up some of this murkiness?
the league will be doing a voter's guide. They're not sure yet if they'll do it for the primary or just the general, but look for the league's voter's guide. And Community Media Center will be doing Meet the Candidate sessions. We'll all be able to be invited there to film a little clip that'll be shown. And Neil's going to be putting our little panel tonight up on YouTube, so encourage your friends and neighbors and families to watch.
And I'll put the link there too, so it'll be on the comments.
I have a question. I want to know from everybody, what's their top priority of things that they're concerned about in the House? In the state of Maryland, statewide.
That was one of the questions I have for you guys.
The power lines.
The power lines?
Okay.
Energy cost and education.
What about healthcare?
Huge.
Civil rights, I'm just really concerned about what's happening.
What about affordability housing in Carroll County? I think we lack that. And what are you all going to do about that to make it really happen? I sit on the legislative committee for Prairie Ball and for the realtors. So we review the laws each Monday that affect not only Carroll and Baltimore County, Baltimore City, but also the state. So my concern is, what is your definition also of affordability?
Well, I've been doing a lot of reading, as I mentioned in my talk. The Masterworks plan that was done in 2023, one of the main things was to address that. I know that Hampstead, the average cost of a house is 17% higher than the national average. One of the things I think we need to do is look at different models for housing. We are building McMansions on 1 acre lots. Our teachers, our policemen, our firemen can't afford to live in Carroll County. Many of them are driving up to Pennsylvania so that they can find affordable housing. So I think that looking at a new master plan and building different models of housing is a good solution.
I had the fortunate experience of serving as a commissioner for the Community Planning Advisory Committee in Seaside, California, when my husband was stationed there. And I saw a rural coastal community have some of the same challenges of not having affordable houses available. About 12% of our teachers were actually without a home that worked in our school district because housing was so limited on the peninsula. So one of the things that I think that we're not tapping into in Maryland is utilizing funds that are currently available in the federal government to help with our infrastructure, such as resurfacing roads and and things like that. Carroll County, for whatever reason, we don't have developers putting in their share of the impact that they're causing in the community. And that causes a lot of uphill, unforeseen challenges. So my plan regarding affordability is working with our current partners in the state to find ways to utilize the most of every dollar, whether it's at the federal level, the state level, and the local level, in order to provide communities that are affordable for young generations. Like, I don't want my son living with me. He's 18. I need him to be able to get out and get his own apartment. We'll help him with that. But those are the kind of things we have to think about, because it's almost impossible for kids, the generation now, to even get their driver's license. Remember how excited we were when we got our driver's license? Have you seen the insurance costs and the cost of vehicles now? That's why these kids are not getting a driver's license. We're making it impossible for them to actually be able to afford. So that's my commitment once I become delegate.
If I could, excuse me, I would say one thing about housing is we just don't have enough of it at any price point. And a lot of ways, we don't build the kind of housing that people can get into that's not, as somebody mentioned, a McMansion. We don't need a whole lot of more 5-bedroom houses or 1-acre lots. We need some places that are close to existing transit points, close to where we can increase the density a little bit. We don't have, you probably don't even see triplexes built anymore, or apartments over retail, or duplexes, or houses that people can get into on a starting salary from a teacher or a firefighter or a policeman. And a lot of the problem is that we kind of, in Baltimore County, I'll tell you what the situation is in the councilmanic districts, is the local politicians kind of wait till a developer comes to them with an idea. And then they kind of thumbs up or thumbs down. And I think what we need to be is a lot more directive. We want housing somewhere. We need to make the local zoning changes that will make it happen so we can build the housing where we want it to be built and not wait in kind of a haphazard way for some developer to come along with a plan for 5 or 6 houses here. Other than that, we're just going to be waiting and waiting and waiting for somebody to do something rather than have our local leaders, and really this is maybe not quite on the state senate or state delegate level, but on the county commissioner or county council level, say, I would like we have this parcel of land, I would like it to be developed to its, to its highest economic use and its highest use for the community. We need places for people to live, and as the number of units goes up, the prices will come down.
Have a question back there?
Yes.
Can I comment on that?
Sure, go ahead.
So there's not a lot I agree with our current Senator Chris West on, but he spoke about how do we get more affordable housing, and he made an interesting point. And there's a juxtaposition between affordable housing and our farmland and rural areas. So how do you solve that problem? How do you cut that Gordian knot? And he said we need to build up, not out. So there's some land like on the Chesapeake Bay in Baltimore County that, and this is just an idea that he had of building up and rather than out, because we don't want to take around the farmland, take away from it. So that's number one. We want housing close to work and close to grocery stores and the like. We don't want to spread out over what Carroll County and Baltimore County currently have. That's number one. Number two, that's making the supply available. But number two, we want to make people able to buy or rent, and that comes through education. I'm a finance professor. I teach business finance. I also teach personal finance. And there's only 2 ways you can get enough money. You increase your income or you decrease your expenses. That's it, or some combination of the two. So we need to start that education process actually before high school. I've got 3 grandkids. One is my 8-year-old granddaughter, and she's in 2nd grade, and they're doing math with coins. And it's really a pleasure to teach her to understand the concept of money. So if we start that at an early age and give them the skills they need in high school, when they graduate from high school, they're on their, with Roth IRA accounts and all of that. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and then we're going to do our transition to the Board of Ed. Go ahead.
Hello, and thank you all. I had a question. The last 2 ladies pretty much answered some of my concerns, being a person of color, and with this current situation that's going on. What are the rest of you? What's your take on trying to make this community feel safe and inclusive to all people, regardless of color? And Also, more opportunity for folks of color to be able to feel that we have the opportunities for fair housing, equal opportunities with jobs. And I'm not talking about getting a job at a restaurant as a waiter or waitress, but the corporate and more higher paying positions. And safety, for God's sake, right now. You got people that can't even come out of their homes right now of fear because of what this current climate's like. We got to battle that, folks. And so I'm kind of wondering what you're, the three especially.
I'm happy to answer if you'll give me time. I'm happy to answer. I have a long record in this county. I've been president of our local NOW chapter. I've been active in our NAACP chapter. I've been at all the No Kings rallies. I've served the disabilities community in this county for over 20 years as a leader. I am turning to the events of today. I am in favor of the ICE not being, our sheriff not cooperating with ICE in an extreme way that they're trying to do. I think that if someone is arrested and they've committed a crime, they should be locked up. But this one time going down the street and arresting people that look different than we do is way out of control. And as far as housing and equality, I think that plays right into what I was saying. We need to improve the education level. We need to improve job skills. We need to bring more good jobs into Carroll County so that people can fill those jobs and then they can afford to live, work, and play here.
I think there's quite a few laws on the books, and I think they need to be enforced versus ignored. And the current administration basically, well, you know what they're doing. And it's sad, but that's at the federal level. At the state level, the one nice thing, well, there's a lot of nice things, but one of the nicest things about Maryland is, as a state, you know, it's a blue, comfortable state. Yes, maybe the taxes are too high, but you know, the thing about American miniature, it's got it all, including laws on avoiding discrimination. So they just need to be, and working as a state senator, I've already met with the Fraternal Order of Police. So it's a matter of engaging with the local officials and making sure that they're enforcing the laws, but not going, as Karen said, Corin said, not going beyond and just grabbing people out of their cars.
I'm sorry, I didn't know when you said three. We got 5 people up here. I didn't want to take somebody else's thunder from them. I'll tell you that at the very fundamental level, I teach high school kids who have all done terrible, terrible things. They're all minority youth. And the one thing I will tell you when I talk to them about their future is it's difficult to envision a future when you don't see anybody like you in it. And if that's the case, you know, you have to just have some people, whether it's employers or the state, just have to have the courage to give people a chance and put them in positions where they can make a difference. And sometimes that difference is they're doing the job better than somebody else, but sometimes it's just that they are somebody who's going to be a model for somebody else to see and say, I can do that too, and that's where I want to end up. I think Paul Conca is right in the sense that when there's something goes wrong, we need to be robust and rooting out discrimination, whether it's in employment or any other ways that we are discouraging people from doing the best that they can for whatever reason, and whether that's at the Attorney General level of the state or the county attorney, or people just taking private action when they need to really show. I've been treated poorly, and here in Carroll County, here in Baltimore County, we're not going to stand for that.
Thank you. Bring it down.
Yeah,
Hand it down, Diana.
So one of the things that I have been actively doing this session and sessions prior to this is actively been involved. There's a lot of outdated laws in Maryland, and I've spoken in the past. We used to have a law in the book where if a student interrupts instruction, they could be arrested. That was a law that was there. Delegate Sheila Ruth was able to remove that law off the books. So if you had a child with special needs, with ADHD, or on the autism spectrum, and they interrupted class without intending to cause any harm, the police could be called on that child, and they would be removed from the classroom. I sat in Annapolis this session after our sheriff signed on to 287G. About a couple months after, we had a mom get pulled out of her vehicle. That video went viral. We watched that. They didn't have a proper warrant. This happened here in Carroll County. It didn't happen in another state. It happened here in Carroll County. And our sheriff signed on to that 287 agreement without having any community input or anything. He just did it on his own. And I told him, we're gonna get rid of it come this session. And we did. We were able to be successful and get rid of 287. And I will say that is the start. There's a lot of other bills that need to go through. How to protect our privacy and secure it, because guess what? ICE is going into other systems, picking people based on names, trying to pick them up. So we need to protect all the information that we're gathering and create stronger laws with our data privacy in Maryland, whether it's in our healthcare or our school districts, wherever it is, they should not have easy access to this information that's sensitive. And another thing that was not mentioned too that I want to say, so women of color do not receive the same type of health care as women that are white. And I want to point that out because they deserve every right to have their reproduction rights protected and have quality health care. Every human being should.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Hi. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Well, basically, I was asking about having more, having a representative stand up more for the quality of people of color when it comes to education, jobs, law, the law,
Yes.
making sure there's not discriminatory practices going on arresting people, making us feel safe in this community.
Yes. So I'm brand new into the whole politics world. I'm 25. I pride myself on being an activist and a humanitarian. I don't have a higher level of education. That was a personal choice of my own. I have been involved with activism and things ever since I've been in early high school. I'd like to say I wish I had a better answer for you on what the route is I'll take to get there, because it is a main goal of mine that people of color, minorities, and everyone else is protected and safe. The America, I feel like a kid in a lot of ways still. I have a lot to learn. I'm brand new into this sphere, in this space. I protest, I go to rallies. I'm learning every day. I've met some wonderful people who have been guiding me through this. I wish I could tell you what exactly I'm going to do to make it a safer space. But that's why I'm here. I saw an opportunity as an activist to infiltrate a system that I'm trying to think of the right word, trying to change with the protests and everything. The America I was raised to believe in was a safe place for freedom and speech and community, and what I'm seeing around me is that it's burning, and I want everybody here to feel safe. My coworkers, my friends, just everyone in this room that I'm here. And I wish I had a better way of telling you where I'm going, but all I can say is that I'm learning every day, and I'm trying my best for everyone here in this county, community, and country, and I will continue to do so every single day.
I think that's pretty good. Thank you for the, I didn't get a chance to set these people up, so they're going to be in their own order. So, Marcia? I got that one right. Okay. Well, you're the only guy here, so I'm guessing you're Cleveland Friday.
Yeah, Cleveland, you got that one.
Okay.
Okay, he's good right
I'm
now.
out of line. Okay, that's Lisa. I met her. I remember her. And you told me your name and I forgot it.
Shannon.
Shannon?
And I'm Julie.
And Julie and Sharon. All right, so these are our candidates for the Board of Education. There are 3 open seats, but 6 people will make it through the primary. So you may see more of these people.
But you can vote for 3.
You can vote for 3, but 6 will make it through. It's whatever. It's a system. Okay. Why don't we just start at the end with Marcia and just work your way down.
No problem.
And
Good
this
evening.
means you got a minute, and this means it's time to stop.
You got it. Okay.
That's-
Good evening. Welcome, everyone. And I want to personally thank everybody for being here tonight, for the Democratic Club for hosting this. And Mark Wilson, I've never met you before, but it sounds like you wear many hats, and thank you.
all wear my hair.
I'm Marcia Herbert. A lot of you know who I am. I've been around Carroll County a long time. I taught over 40 years of school at 2 schools, South Carroll and North Carroll. In 2014, when they divided the 2 schools, I could have stayed, but I would have had the girl I taught with and babysat when she was little to go to Liberty High School. I retired. And then the next year, then of course, then they had the school closing. So I really still do miss it. And then from there on, I have a horse farm. We do riding lessons. We do leases. We have horse shows. And then most of you know the last 8 years I was on the Board of Education because I do like to serve the community and I saw things that I thought needed to be taken care of. So I have been in there for 8 years and I could have never forecasted the events that happened in those 8 years. I got in there and then COVID hit. Well, none of us in this building here had any idea of how to deal with COVID. And we definitely did the dive, we made the right choices, and we really needed to get our students back in classrooms. I saw it personally myself. I had both my granddaughters at my house when they closed. I saw what was going on in the classrooms. Little girls rolling around with their baby dolls and not paying attention. Little boys playing with their puppies. Moms and dads running around in their underwear. And I could see that, and that's very true, that we were not getting the job done as educators. We needed to get our students back in the classroom. Academic achievement was very important for me. And in the 8 years that I was on the board, we were always in the top 3 in all the categories in the state of Maryland. And I have to thank our dear Cynthia McCabe as a great leader for this school system. There's always room for improvement, and people always say you've got to close the gap. Absolutely not. You need to bring the bottom up. That drives me crazy. You've got to close the gap. I don't want to dummy it down. We need to move our students forward and up. The 8 years that I was on the board, our educators got a raise every year, a step and a COLA. And the one really big achievement we did get, and I was still working with the blueprint, that we got the career ladder completed. We were one of the first counties to complete that. Many followed our system. It was a 1 or 2 page process compared to Montgomery County and Prince George's County. It looked like a Sears Roebuck, but some of you might not know what a Sears Roebuck is. Some of us do though. So anyway, I was really happy that we worked with Carroll Media Center. It's wonderful. They have worked with us and they did sporting events that a grandfather in Minnesota could watch his grandson play soccer. Now they have a lot more where they can do graduations and whatever. I was very happy that our superintendent started town halls so people could be informed what was going to happen with this blueprint. It was ugly. And I also have to thank the group that worked this last year to get the waiver for Carroll County. We are leaders in the state in education. We needed that waiver. People were flabbergasted that we were able to work with that, but I also have to thank Josh Sacco, Delegate Sacco, and also Delegate Tomlinson, who went to North Carroll High School and got the job done. So I know I just got the flag and all that kind of good stuff, but anyway, common sense, communication, and transparency are so important to be on the Board of Education. Thank you. All right, Cleveland, honey, you're up.
Yes, ma'am.
There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am old enough to know what Sears Roebuck.
That's right.
My name is Cleveland Friday, and I am a candidate for Carroll County Board of Education. I'm running for Carroll County Board of Education because I believe that our children deserve schools that challenges them academically, supports them emotionally, and prepares them for the future. I have 4 daughters. My wife and I have been residents of Carroll County for the last 18 years, the end of May. I've been fortunate enough that my oldest daughter applied for a biology program at the University of Miami. Of the 12,000 students that applied, only 1,200 got in. My daughter was one of those 1,200. Now, she had a great education in Carroll County schools, and I attributed her education to being able to accomplish that. I've got a set of 20-year-old twins. They're also girls. So that's 3 girls, if you keep count. They were able to get into Temple University. One is a nursing major, the other one is a pre-law major. My pre-law major will be graduating a year early. She's already got a full scholarship from Temple University. She has University of Maryland looking at her. She's got a ton of law schools looking at her. Again, I attribute her success to Carroll County Public Schools. I have an 11-year-old daughter, currently attends Sandy Mount Elementary. She is getting a great education. I am not a career or a professional politician. My background is not even in education. My background is in public safety. I have an AA degree from Baltimore City Community College in legal assistance. I have a bachelor's degree from Topper State University in criminal justice. I've been a correctional professional for 28 plus years. I started right in Sykesville at the Central Maryland Correctional Facility. Up until last year, last March, I was the Commissioner for Pretrial Detention and Services. I managed 7,500 staff members. The last project that I worked on was $1.7 billion, which ultimately got cut down to $900 million. I'm currently assigned to a facility in Hagerstown. My budget there is $111 million plus. What I do not know about education, I guarantee you I will learn. But I'm used to, as they say, corralling cats. I'm used to managing large groups of people. I'm used to dealing with large budgets. And more than anything, I'm used to trying to raise successful young people. I want to earn your vote. Not because I might be the best candidate for this position, but because I care. And I know what it is to be a parent and try to make sure that my kids get everything that they need to be successful. And I think so far, Carroll County has provided a great opportunity. I want to make sure that everybody in this room, that their grandkids, great-grandkids, even newcomers to the county, that their children have the same experience that my kids have. So thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Hinkhouse. I'm running for Board of Education. And I want to begin by saying how much I appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight and talk with all of you. I realize I'm standing in front of a group that might not agree with me on every issue. But I believe when it comes to our schools, our kids, and our teachers, and our future, if we can set aside labels and mutual suspicions, we have much more in common than we might realize. Carroll County has a proud tradition of strong public schools. Many of us moved here or stayed here because of that, and every one of us in this room wants to keep it that way. Our schools are critically important academic centers, but they're also the hearts of our communities. They're where our children learn not only math and history, but also how to think critically, work together cooperatively, and grow into responsible citizens. Are you with me so far? Now, we all know that the conversation around education sometimes becomes very tense at the national, state, and even the local level. Controversial social topics can become political battlegrounds in our education debates. But I don't think most parents or teachers want that contention or that distraction. We all want schools where every child feels respected, challenged, and safe, and where educators have the support, trust, and tools they need to do their jobs. Teaching kids is what our teachers signed up for. Most do not want to be soldiers in the national culture wars, so let's take a different tack. Let me be clear and honest about where I stand. I'm running for the school board because I believe that Carroll County stakeholders, not legislators or bureaucrats in Annapolis or Washington, should decide what happens in our local schools. The blueprint for Maryland's future is a great example. Despite good intentions and some laudable goals, it was not designed to address Carroll County needs, and it does not serve Carroll County well. We have earned the right to manage and fund our own school system rather than follow the ill-fitting prescriptions of the blueprint. As an aside, I expect to see bipartisan changes made to the blueprint to address some of its misapplications and unintended consequences, although sadly not in this election year. I believe in transparency. Parents should know what their children are learning and have an open line of communication with teachers. I'm not talking about micromanaging or censoring. I'm talking about transparency, collaboration, and cooperative problem solving. I'm confident that our best teachers would enthusiastically welcome such a relationship with parents. I also believe in wholeheartedly supporting our teachers. We ask a lot of them, and they deserve our respect and our appreciation, and to be given the authority and tools they need to succeed, because they're on the front lines of learning every day, and when they succeed, our students succeed. That means giving our teachers clear expectations, reasonable workloads, competitive pay, and respect. We can and must hold our teachers to high standards, but we must also show compassion, be generous with second chances, and equip those teachers with everything they need to succeed. But what about these spirited debates on social issues? Can we hide from them? Should we hide from them? Of course not. But I propose this. Let's start by not assuming bad faith from those with differing viewpoints. Instead, let's assume good intentions with simply a different perspective. Instead of defining one another by party or ideological labels, let's start by acknowledging that we share many goals, indeed, the most important goals. Strong schools focused on academic excellence, safe classrooms, and well-prepared graduates. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julie Walsh. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I am a mother of 5 children in 4 Carroll County Public Schools who live in Mount Airy. I brought my 2 youngest with me tonight. I told them I enjoy having my little buddies with me, and they said they were my campaign managers. So that was perfect. So I grew up in Harford County, but my extended family is in Howard and Carroll counties. So I grew up in and around the community quite a bit. I went to Mount St. Mary's University, where I majored in political science and German, so I'm fascinated by politics. And I have always been interested in it. When I was a kid, my grandfather was an elected official in Howard County for like decades. And so I grew up around it and was completely fascinated by it. And then when I graduated from college, I spent 3 years working for the Office of Inspector General in the U.S. General Services Administration. And then I spent 6 years as an associate director of the Maryland Catholic Conference, where I represented the Catholic Diocese of the state of Maryland to the state legislature. So I was a registered lobbyist, spending all of my time in the General Assembly, getting to know the legislators, getting to know the process, getting to know the various interested groups. I worked on poverty, healthcare, and immigration matters, and worked on a bunch of statewide coalitions representing the conference. I also served as the chair of the Maryland Alliance for the Poor for 3 years. So I got to know state level politics, and I got to know a good bit about state policy in the state departments. And then I started having babies, and I had more and more. So I ended up with 5, and I wanted to devote all of my time to them, so I stayed home. But I kept paying attention. I have done some writing over the years on politics, and I'm a total news junkie. But I had not gotten involved in local politics because I was just very busy with the kids and overwhelmed. And I was contributing to my community in other ways. I have served in different ways with different nonprofits, with my church. I am like one of those volunteers who just can't say no, and so I keep raising my hand and stepping forward. Last year, I'm also PTO president of 2 of my kids' schools. And last year, when I heard what was happening with the struggles that CCPS was facing regarding implementing Maryland's Blueprint for Education law, I thought, I might be the only CCPS mom who used to be a lobbyist in Annapolis. Maybe I ought to step forward because I might understand a few things here. And so through PTO networks, I got connected with a few other Carroll County residents who had been paying attention to the issue longer here in Carroll. And we sort of joined forces and brought our own talents to that challenge. And we formed the Carroll Education Coalition around the kitchen table of Lisa Massano. And together we just hit the ground running. And I understood that this was both a state and a Carroll County issue, and so we needed to address both the state and both the county. So we drove back and forth between Annapolis and Westminster, and I testified before committees of the General Assembly. We testified before the Board of Education and the county commissioners. I testified before the state's accountability and implementation board. I got to know Delegate Stanko, and talked a lot with advocates in Annapolis and people here, and we just did everything we could think of. And we poured a heck of a lot of work into that situation. And we were very gratified to learn that Carroll County received the waiver that it so desperately needed, and we're even more gratified to know that work done at the state level has been helpful to Carroll, and Carroll will likely be able to implement the Blueprint law in a much less difficult way. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Massano, and I am also a candidate for the Board of Education. I'm originally from Maryland. I grew up in Pasadena in Anne Arundel County, and I have been a lifelong Democrat. My husband and I bought our first home here in Carroll County 18 years ago, and we love this area, and this is where we decided we wanted to raise our family. So we have 3 children, and my son, he's in 9th grade this year, and I have twin daughters in 6th grade. And all of my children attend Carroll County Public Schools. So I'm an engineer by training. I got my degree at Virginia Tech, and that's also where I met my husband. And so I'm really very much a nerd, and I like to dig in and research and learn about issues. And I consider myself to be a problem solver type of person, and I ask lots of questions and try to understand the details a lot. Since I had my kids, I've poured my heart and energy into raising my family and being involved in my community. All my kids are in scouting, and I have been a scout leader for 9 years. I've been very active in my kids' elementary school PTA when they were in elementary school, and I was PTA president for 3 years there. During that time, we created an advocacy committee to follow the budget issues, and at that point, Blueprint was coming down the pike, and we could see that, and we were watching and learning what the implementation was going to look like in Carroll and how that would affect our schools. So last year, when the budget and staffing crisis came to a head, our group was we were already following, and we already knew, and we had been listening and really watching all of the different components that were coming together to make it such a challenge for CCPS. So as Julie had mentioned, together with other parents, we got together and formed the Carroll Education Coalition, and we worked basically nonstop. We were a nonpartisan group that followed the issues, and our goal was to try to help digest all this complex information that was happening at both the state level and the county level, with all the different challenges that CCPS was facing, and try to help inform the community, break it down so we could explain what was happening to people who hadn't been really paying attention, and encourage them to get involved. So last year, as part of that group, Julie and I spent time, in addition to others, going to Annapolis, talking to legislative aides, explaining what the challenges were for Carroll, asking for flexibility and helping to implement the Blueprint law in Carroll. I will say that I am not a politician either. I am an advocate. I consider myself to be an advocate. I'm very passionate about these issues and my kids and our community. My priority is really to make sure we have a healthy, well-functioning school system with adequate resources. That's where I put most of my priority. I also don't believe that the investment in the capital projects has kept pace with the needs that of our school system. So I want to bring attention to that issue as well. I really believe we need to focus on a long-term plan to meet the needs of the school system, so we can continue to have excellent schools in this county. If I am elected to the BOE, I would continue to use my voice as a positive voice for our schools. And since Julie and I have spent so much time working together in the past year, we have both decided to run, and we have decided to form a slate, since the teamwork of the past year is really our story. So we are launching our slate website today, and I have cards and the QR code in the back so you can check it out. And there's also some magnets. But we definitely appreciate your support, and thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Wilhide. First, I want to apologize that I arrived late and I missed the delegate panel and questions. My daughter, today is her 10th birthday, and I know that sounds funny to a lot of you. However, my daughter is a cancer survivor, so her 10th birthday is a huge deal. She was diagnosed in March of 2020, right? Literally the week when schools were shutting down, she was in the hospital. So we didn't know if she would make it to 10, so the fact that she was 10, we had a big family dinner planned, so I apologize that I was late. I am a Maryland native, born and raised. I grew up in Parkville in Baltimore County. I have two children, my 10-year-old, who's now, I can't believe, double digits, 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old. Both attend Mechanicsville Elementary. I am an educator. I am a teacher for deaf and hard of hearing students. This is my 16th year teaching. I have an advanced professional license in early childhood, elementary education, special ed, and deaf and hard of hearing. I'm also fluent in American Sign Language. I went to McDaniel for my master's degree. My undergrad was at Towson University in psychology and deaf studies. And then I needed to either choose the psychology or the deaf studies route, and I've always loved children, and decided to go to McDaniel for deaf education. So my master's is in deaf education. Going to McDaniel, I fell in love with McDaniel and the beautiful campus. I fell in love with Carroll County. I do have a quick little funny story of my first experience with Carroll. We would always go up to Gettysburg as a kid, and we would drive through Westminster at 140. and we would stop at the lake, that's now the duck pond, but that park sometimes is like a halfway. And when I was about 8 years old, I had a horse stuffed animal that I left on the playground, and we went up to Gettysburg for the day, and I was so upset, and we came back and it started raining on our way back, and I was so upset my horse was going to be ruined. And some nice Carroll County resident put it in a plastic bag so that it wouldn't get ruined. So from 8 years old, I fell in love with Carroll County. So I graduated from McDaniel in 2010. I started teaching for Carroll County Public Schools for the first 5 years. For my first 5 years, I did not get a step increase at all, no COLA, nothing. Unfortunately, I had to make the tough decision for my family and for myself to seek elsewhere. So I now teach for Baltimore County Public Schools. I've had self-contained classrooms with multiple grades of special education students, and my specialty, my favorite that I've done the most, is an itinerant teacher, which means I drive around from school to school working with students. I've worked with infants and toddlers doing home visits, all the way up to students on an IEP can stay in school up to 21. I partnered with the community college working with students, so elementary, middle, and high. I never thought I would be running for the Board of Education until my children were much older. I always felt that I was destined to do something great, but I would wait until my kids were older. But my son is 5 and in kindergarten, and I want to ensure that he has a phenomenal quality education, quality public education, just like all the students in Carroll County have gotten. My husband is born and raised in Carroll County and a Carroll County resident and had a phenomenal education. And I think it's important to come together as a community. I was actually teaching a student today about a financial literacy lesson about community, and it made me think about a village, and it takes a village to raise a child. And so we need to come together in Carroll County and work together to make our village, to make our children successful, to make our quality education successful, to support our students, to support our teachers. Every vote, if I'm elected onto the Board of Education, I will think about what is best for our children, what is best for our students, and how do we move forward as a village and as a community. And I look forward to questions and getting to know how I can be a part of your village. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to open the floor for questions and answers. Do we have a couple questions at the back? Okay, Jane?
So, I have a question for each and every one of you. One of the downsides when I moved to Carroll County in 2024 was I lost special education services for my kids. It was like starting from scratch, and it was devastating. Regardless that they were in high school, they still had a right to have access to instruction with all their supports they need. I want to know, especially from some of you that have actively announced that you refuse to fund our schools beyond the maintenance of effort. I want to know if you guys are willing to make a commitment on what your plan is to fully fund special education students that need it, not just from early childhood, but all the way until their senior year in high school.
I think that's very interesting because while I was on the board those 8 years and being an educator, the Carroll County Board of Education, they've always put more money into special education than almost any county in the state, and that's why a lot of people transfer here. But your son or daughter had problems the last 2 years?
2 sons, both in high school. They returned back to Maryland with an IEP. I did not have a problem when they transitioned from Maryland to California. California accepted their IEP, retested and assessed the children, and they were able to continue with a similar intervention plan in California. When you return back to Maryland, you have to go through the same process, as you know. And unfortunately, the team did not think that my boys needed those needed services. Their disability is still there, their impact and their challenge are still there. They don't outgrow that, unfortunately. So I got a lot of feedback as far as we didn't have the funding. We had a lot of challenges. One of my children has limited communication ability, so they relies heavily on assistive technology. So when I start hearing parents saying that they want to get rid of all technology, I start thinking about all our special education kids that need access to technology because a lot of those apps gives them the ability to access the curriculum in the way that they learn best. So there's a lot of things that I've witnessed and I've seen from participating and going to the board that is concerning. I've heard teachers from our teachers unions talk about not receiving their step increase. And from my understanding, a few weeks ago, the board finally asked for the first time an increase, because in the past, they were not asking for additional funds for education. So I want to know, like, overall, like, what is your plan to make sure that all the kids, especially kids with special education, get access to much needed fund of what we actually need, not just the maintenance of effort that's provided?
Thank you.
I still will go back to, and I don't know your individual circumstance, but I know Carroll County Board of Education puts more money into special ed than is necessary. And somebody, as board members, we do not get involved in individual students. That's not, we are there for policy. But I will tell you that when you're saying they didn't get a raise, the 8 years I was there, they always got a raise. And last year they asked for an astronomical amount of money from the commissioners. And I think the last number that was stated at the Board of Education meeting last month, that they were going to ask for, I think, between 15 and 18 more million.
So 18 million is what they ended up asking.
Yes, well, that's what I think they're going to ask, but you know, we're going to have to. You have to work with the county commissioners. I know that. You know, I've seen them where it's worked very, very well. Donna and I really campaigned on working with the commissioners. I saw the superintendent one year jump across the table and get ready to try to hit a commissioner, and I said, we're not going to do that. And I wasn't on the board then, but that did happen. And that was one of our emphasis, that we needed to work together, the Board of Education and the commissioners, so that we can take care of our
They
students.
were not asking, and Steve Lister,
Okay.
that's on the board, is current
Wait,
board
Diana?
president, refused to ask.
Excuse me, Diana,
Well,
we need to
we
move on
can't
to some
talk
more
about
questions,
individual-
please.
Well, I wanted to know, like, other candidates, like, what is?
Okay, but you gotta let them answer, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll just say I agree with Marcia. I mean, I think the last 3 years, I mean, the commissioners have funded us, I think it's been over $39 million over maintenance of effort. And I did look into the budget that they proposed for this year, and I feel like special ed stood out to me. I hate to question it, I hate to go from memory, but I feel like it was like $1.7 million more. So I don't know your individual, if it had anything to do with money, or if it had to do with, you know, I can't speak to that side of it, but like she said, you know, you'd have to go back to the people doing the assessments and everything and figure out what's going on there. And then if there's a policy problem or you know, some kind of, that we're not following the proper protocol there, then I guess that's something that we would have to talk about. But
I think
the funding is okay.
Yeah, I do believe that the funding is there. I think unfortunately maybe your situation, again, unfortunately for your children, it might have been just an individual situation, because I do know students who currently are in Carroll County Public Schools and students who have graduated within the last 4 or 5 years that have had IEPs and have received those services their entire high school career. So I think unfortunately that might have just been something that you experienced, and you shouldn't have had to experience that, but I think that was more like, I guess, something that was just an unfortunate individual experience.
So, as a special educator, with children who have both been on IEPs, so I've been both sides of being a parent with children with IEPs and also being the teacher writing the IEPs. It can change as children get older, and the goal of an IEP is to get off of an IEP. However, I think as a Board of Education member, the most important thing to do is to advocate for the needs of all students and be a liaison between the community and the families and the school system and the schools and the teachers to make sure that our students are getting a quality education and getting the services that they need. A big part of my job is advocating for students' needs, and I've even had to advocate with general educators saying that no, these students need these services on their IEP to be successful. I think funding can be an issue but special ed is expensive. Some of the students that I've worked with that are nonverbal, that have no way to communicate, they need more than your average child. So advocating for the funding, and it's not just looking at a piece of paper saying, oh, well, special ed's expensive. It is, because that's why it's called special education. But there are laws in place to cover special education. That's why there are legal aspects of an IEP, and an IEP is a legal document that needs to be followed, period. So I think as a board member, it's important to advocate for the needs of all students, whether they are general education students, whether they have a 504 plan for accommodations, or they're special education students.
Thank you very much. We had another question in the back, and then we had one over here. Thank you.
I'm interested in your thoughts on the censorship of library materials in all of the schools, elementary through high school, and the role of the Board of Education members in involving themselves in limiting access to resources in the library.
Can I just really quick add to that to make it very specific, if that's okay with you? I just want to add to your question.
Sure.
I wanted to make sure that, because I was going to ask something similar, that while the topic may be uncomfortable, it is age appropriate and has possibly been in the school libraries for a decade. I just wanted to add that to yours.
So I'll go first, no one's volunteer. I think it's important that we trust our professionals. Teachers go to school and librarians go to school for library education. And I think we need to come together as a community and not have all the distractions and focus on what's important by trusting our educators that they know what they're doing and they know what's age appropriate. And you're not going to have an inappropriate book in an elementary school, and focus on giving the educators the autonomy that they deserve to be able to decide what's appropriate and what's not appropriate.
And I guess I would just add that I think that there has been too much attention on to this subject, in that I think that there are enough concerns within our school system that affect all of the students of the county, primarily regarding funding. And I think it's frustrating to a lot of parents that so much of the conversation around our school board has focused in on a few very divisive issues, when people are like, I want to make sure my kids' schools are adequately funded and we're not having to cut these essential programs. So I mean, I guess I would just say, I think we ought to focus on the bread and butter of what the school system is called to do and its responsibility to the students, instead of passing policies on books, because I just think there's a lot more to do.
When I was on the board, we definitely said age appropriate. And I will tell you that I saw 2 or 3 books that I had to look at myself. And when I opened the book, I thought me and another board member about passed out. I did not think it was appropriate in high school to have pictures drawn of 500 ways to have sexual intercourse on a bench, on a wall, and they never did ever figure out why a book like that. I was just totally shocked to see a book like that on a shelf in Carroll County Public Schools. I thought it was terribly inappropriate, and there's other books that were just fine. But it has to go back to age appropriate. But there were some books on the shelves that I personally did not want my granddaughters to see it. I wouldn't have wanted my friends' children to see it. And they shouldn't have been in the school system, library.
I will say, you hit the nail on the head though, age appropriate. Age
That's it.
appropriate
It's
is the word. And I think that all the books that they put up for reconsideration, they went to a reconsideration committee with parents, teachers, community members, and I think that they did remove or move up a grade level, maybe from elementary, and they said, no, it really should be in middle school. They did make some changes, and I think it was over half of the books it wasn't over half the books. I thought it was at least 20 some books out of maybe 50 or something that, and I could be wrong on the numbers, but it's all about being age appropriate. It's not about content. It's like Marcia said, some of the books were filthy. So
I was just appalled that a book like that would be in a public school system. And it would be fine here. I mean, it's a public, this is a different type of library, but.
I think we're focusing on the wrong thing though, focusing on the books when our children have computers that have unfiltered access to the internet.
I think they all go together. It's all the same
One
topic.
of the big things that I think the Board of Ed needs to make a change on is the security features on the laptops, because there are security features in place when those devices are in a Carroll County public school, but when they go home, they can access anything on the internet. And as a parent, that's more concerning to me, of being able to, a library you go in and you could check out or not check out or look at a certain book or not look at a certain book, but the internet is a scary place, and having unfiltered access for our children is terrifying, and I think that needs to be a bigger priority.
Can I answer part of that? I'm sorry. I think the most appropriate books are reading, writing, arithmetic, and history. I think that we need to get back to the basics of actually teaching our kids the skills necessary to be productive human beings and be successful. I think the book issue is, I think it's taking up more space and more airtime than it really should. I think that it has to be age appropriate, but most importantly, parents play a part. I don't think that we should be giving all of our control, whether it's to teachers or whoever. I think parents have to play a central part in what their kids see, what they learn, what they read, the websites that they get an opportunity to visit, whether it's in school or at home. There's filters on my 11-year-old, which she can and can't see when she gets on her phone. I don't even want my 11-year-old to have a phone, but it's a necessary evil at this point. So I think instead of just focusing on the books, we need to focus on the things that's going to make our kids successful. Hard stuff.
Okay. We have a couple more questions. Go ahead.
I have a comment. Go ahead.
So the health and well-being of children is really, really important to me. I'm a pediatric oncology nurse practitioner. Congrats to your daughter. And I'm also an assistant professor of nursing. I legislative chair, represent all the pediatric nurse practitioners across the state. I'm a member of the Maryland Academy of Pediatrics. For the past 6 years, we've been hearing a lot of things that certain things are hurting kids and that word being used inappropriately. We're having issues that shouldn't be political, vaccines, for example. So I want to know, are you guys willing to do the work to get the actual evidence behind things and research situations, or will you defer to your personal opinions and what the people around you are saying and telling you? Because I keep hearing this whole Carroll County values thing. I've been here for 35 years. My values might not be the same as your values, but that doesn't mean that my opinion and my voice as a mom of 3 does not count. So I want to know, are you guys willing to do the work to actually get all of the opinions, the evidence, vet the evidence, not ignore the Carroll County Health Department and making your decisions?
Yes, so I definitely pledge that I will research, and so I definitely will research and talk to people, and I want to learn about it and get into the details. I really like to understand things before making any decisions. That's my nature, and I plan to. I always want to have an open door, like anyone is welcome to come talk to me. I want to get feedback from the community. That is what the Board of Education should be. They should be a liaison between the community and the school system, and so I plan to always be very open to everyone's ideas, and I promise that I will come with an open mind and genuinely listen.
Yes, and I'd like to add to that to say that Lisa and I are not educators. We have not been in education policy. This is a new area to us. But we are very curious and we are very hard workers and we want to know what you think. So when we told you we're launching our Slate website, we're also going to have a form on there because we want to hear from educators, we want to hear from parents, pediatricians, whatever your community members, grandparents, business owners, whoever you are in Carroll County, we would love to hear what your goals are for Carroll County Public Schools and what your concerns are and take them into account as we form our own positions on things that come before the board.
Okay, we have only time for like a few more questions because they're going to kick our butts out. They want us out the front door and everything locked up at 8 o'clock. So, just saying. Somebody in the back.
I have an opinion, I've been in the studio a long time, and it's not your job as a board member of the Carroll County School Board to be censors. If you want to be a censor, go to Russia, go somewhere else, go work for Trump. But can't you leave your religious beliefs behind and look at it objectively? That's the parents' decision to decide what book they want to read. It's not your job, it's not the other people's job. And if you can't do that, then don't run for the job. Because you're not here to censor. You're here to be objective and to provide education guidance. And if you want to be a censor, don't run.
Okay, one last question, Mr. Hendricks.
I'm sorry, just one question. I've heard a lot of the candidates up there say that they're happy that Carroll County has gotten a waiver to the blueprint. I just hope you can tell me what are the requirements in the blueprint that Carroll County needs a waiver from?
It's a timing waiver. It gives us more time to comply. So part of the difficulty... Yeah.
Comply with what part of the...
Right, with the funding allocation part of it. So there are different elements of Blueprint, and on some parts of Blueprint, like the career ladder, Carroll's made wonderful progress from what I hear. Part of the problem is that Blueprint dictates how funding can be assigned to schools. And because Carroll is so lean, we didn't have the flexibility to move our funding around the way other jurisdictions did. And so we were stuck in a tight spot where in order to comply with the Blueprint requirements, we were looking at having to let go about 100 teachers, move around another 100 teachers, and it was going to cause the class sizes in some parts of the county to be as high as 44 at the elementary level. So it was just not a tenable situation. So what the waiver did is it gave Carroll additional time to comply, and they sent, what's the term? Consultants, yeah, out from the state to Carroll to look at how Carroll was proposing to implement it. And as I understand the situation, Carroll was following the letter to the T. And the consultants were agreeing that it was a bit too strict of an interpretation and they should have a little bit more flexibility in how they did it. So working together with the consultants, CCDC has devised a plan that works much better and is more realistic and will still have an impact, but it won't be nearly as bad as it is. And that's to the credit of everyone who worked on this.
Sorry, I want to follow up. You said Carroll County is very lean. Do you foresee bad times ahead?
Well, Carroll County has the lowest per pupil funding in the state. So we just have less to work with. We already went through a bunch of cuts, and so we have a very small central office. We just don't have a lot of, like some counties have extra programs where maybe you could decide, do we need this number of administrators at central office? Do we need all these special programs? No, okay, we can reallocate back to the schools. But Carroll had essentially already done that. So we were in a tight spot.
If you look at their charts, that will actually show that we are 24th out of 24 counties for per pupil funding. So the combination of state and local funding is how we get funding for our schools. However, Carroll County is the 10th wealthiest county in the state. So personally, I would think that they would be a similar spot on the chart. We're the 10th wealthiest county that has the 10th most money in the state, but we're last at per pupil funding. So I don't know about times ahead, but I think there is the funding. It's just building that trust in the community to get the community to invest in our schools, to invest in our future.
I want to point out too, though, we are last in funding, but it's not because our Carroll County funding is extremely low. I think we're kind of in the middle of the pack when it comes to when you look at just what the county contribution is. when you factor in the state part, that's what somehow brings us
Yeah,
down
but we're
to the
also in the
bottom.
middle of the pack for what the state contributes. So the state sort of gives a middle of the pack amount to us. The county gives a middle of the pack, but combined it's less. Because there are some counties that don't get as much state funding, so they put a lot more local funding into it. And there are other counties that can't afford to put much local funding in, and they get a lot more state funding. So it's, yeah.
On all of it's public knowledge that you can see the charts of how much each county provides. So there are a lot of counties that are wealthier counties that they don't get as much from the state. So then the local
put in
government
more, yeah.
puts in more money to bring them higher up on that list of 24 counties.
And Lisa made a chart, it's on our website.
But to put it in perspective, though, one of the requests this year from the Board of Education to the commissioners is one-time funding to replace the facilities maintenance budget. Meaning in 2018, because of how lean the school system had gotten, they removed that portion from the operating budget, facilities maintenance. So you ask, like, well, how are they doing facilities maintenance on the buildings? Because obviously that's very important. Well, they were using their fund balance that they would move over to a special fund that would then pull from that fund to do the facilities maintenance. The issue now is that the fund balance has gotten depleted so much that they can't continue to do that. And so now they're asking the commissioners for one-time funding to refill that facilities maintenance. So that is why we are just really in a very tight situation, and that's why, you know, funding and the health of the school system is so important, because we are just really scraping the bottom, and you know, and no one's going to argue that that we shouldn't be caring for our buildings and doing the proper maintenance on them.
Okay, well, one more quick comment, and then we have to wrap up.
She brought up two things about buildings. If we were going to do what we actually really need to do, they thought we needed to build a new building every year. We have 44 schools. That's impossible. The other thing I wanted to let you all know, not only do we have the blueprint, our enrollment is dropping again. And it's just not in Carroll County, it's all over the state. And that is definitely going to affect the bottom line of the money for Carroll County Board of Education.
Well, thank you to all these candidates. Thank you. And thank you all for coming. And we have another meeting in a month, which will be a different set of candidates.